Well, Rita and Freya, we have been calling on this show for Jacinta Price to reappear on the front of the election campaign, as she did so successfully in the Coalition's most successful electioneering probably since John Howard's days, which was, of course, The Voice. Rita, Jacinta finally reappeared, and, of course, the lefties went crazy and attacked her.
They did, but this time, instead of backing her to the hilt, it seems like her own party capitulated and forced her to also take a backward step. This is mad, mad stuff. It's exactly what you would expect. It's what we saw during the Voice campaign. Everything she said was challenged by the likes of the ABC, misrepresented or presented in some sinister light. And we saw how ineffective that was. But the Coalition is spooked. And after she talked about making Australia great again, they went into meltdown mode because comparisons with Donald Trump were made by the ABC and The Guardian and other leftist media. And it really just shows you how infantile our politics is. We know we can mock other countries, but what's happening in this country right now is a tad embarrassing.
Well, let's take a look. Freya, I don't know if you saw this, but this was Jacinta Price in WA with Peter Dutton.
I'm so proud to be able to stand beside and to ensure that we can make Australia great again, that we can bring Australia back to its former glory, that we can get Australia back on track.
No, if I said that, I don't even realise I said that, but no, I'm an Australian and I want to ensure that we get Australia back on track, absolutely. Let's be very, very clear. The media, you're all obsessed with Donald Trump. We're not. We're not obsessed with Donald Trump. We're actually obsessed with ensuring that we can improve the circumstances for Australians. We're governing for Australians.
So, Freya, I don't know what you made of that, but for me, Jacinta Price is the best communicator the Coalition have, bar none, head and shoulders above the rest. She said, make Australia great again, and then, of course, the left turned on her and turned at the press conference. Why did you say make Australia again? My thing would be, what, you don't want to make Australia great again? Surely that is the most important part of the Coalition's election campaign. We've had 3 years of a disastrous Albanese hard-left government. Of course we want to make Australia great again. That is what Jacinta Price should have been allowed to say, Freya.
Well, I don't think she even meant to say it. Like, it wasn't as though she was channeling Donald Trump. If you hear how she was speaking, she was talking about a range of things. We've got to get Australia back on track, improve the country, take it back from the radical leftist Anthony Albanese government. She wasn't trying to repeat the Trump slogan. It's just a catchy slogan that we can all relate to. So it's not as though she was channeling Trump. And this is the left-wing media. Again, they are trying to make this election about Trump because if you have seen in Canada, the Canadian Conservatives looked like they were going to win the election. And now all of a sudden they're tanking in the polls, even after 14 years of left-wing government, because they're seen as too aligned with Trump. And so now Canadians are rejecting them. And the ABC and the left-wing media want to bring that here, paint Peter Dutton with the same brush as Trump and go, see, if you vote for Dutton, you're voting for Trump. And they know that that won't be popular with a lot of Australians.
But you see, I disagree with you there, Rita.
Well, yeah. I think any comparisons with Trump are grossly unfair on Donald Trump. He's actually done the work. He actually put his life on the line. He suffered all sorts of lawfare. He had his businesses attacked, his livelihood, his very liberty attacked. And through it all, he was articulating bold policy positions that he has been consistent on for years. So when he went to election, everybody knew what the choices were. The problem we've got with our election is I think the great majority of Australians who are not living and breathing politics every day don't know what the differences between these two parties are. And if you don't believe that we should make Australia great again, that there is actually things to repair, serious things to repair, then why would you advocate for changing the Albanese government? If you are the Coalition, you actually need to make the case of why we need significant change. Right now, they're not making that case. It's too much of Me Too. It's not going to be a dramatic change. We're just better economic managers. That is not a winning argument. You want to change a first-term government, you better make a compelling case to the Australian people of what's wrong in the country and what we need to change to get the country looking the way you want. And if that is represented by the words, make Australia great again, that shouldn't be some sort of,
No, it shouldn't
scary
be. And,
terminology that you have to back away
absolutely.
from. I mean,
and I want to
kidding?
pick you up on that, Freya, in a second, but I just want to play you the reaction from Labor to these so-called remarks. Let's have a listen.
Today, they've been here making some rather strange comments and policies as well, trying to borrow from another country. What we know as Australians is that we don't need to borrow from anyone, because here we are building the fairest country on earth, the most prosperous country on earth, and the best country on earth.
I think they said the quiet bit out loud. Peter Dutton's campaign to be Prime Minister is just a cut and paste from the United States. First he cut and paste their policies, now he's cutting and pasting their slogans.
You see, I wish that were the case, Jason. I wish the Liberal parties had cut and pasted Donald Trump's campaign, because then they would be winning.